Welcome to the Two Grumpy Bastards podcast, where feelings aren't felt and snowflakes melt. Buckle up, it's gonna be a bumpy ride.
They painted over ants.
That's a fitting theme for everything that's been going on lately, Russ.
Yeah.
The climax.
Although to be fair, that's not my style of music.
No, but that's my wheelhouse, that 1970s rock.
I'm going to say something probably going to piss you off, but I found it kind of simple rhythmically.
It is. It's minimalist rock, and it's beautiful. Yeah, okay. It's the lyrics. Couldn't get it right. I don't think a whole lot of things are going right now, including...
No, we haven't had a lot going right in the last few days.
Including the Republican debate, which we're going to address very quickly here. But hey, welcome to the Two Grumpy Bastards podcast. My podcast partner, Russ, coming to you live from Tennessee. And me, Big Coop, up here in the Pacific Northwest. You notice that I'm growing my hair out a little bit, Russ? Notice that? My hair has not been this long since I was in my 20s. I'm quite certain.
Well, I think the light from the window is covering up what's on the facial hair.
It's been, I didn't even bother putting a curtain up because it's been raining for 5 days, like biblical proportion raining up here. We finally got some rain. All summer it didn't rain. And now it's just like swampy out there. And now the sun's coming out just as I started the podcast.
We've had almost no rain here except for a very brief shower once in the last couple of weeks. And it's been in the 90s. It's not supposed to cool down. I mean, we're at the end of September. Gross. It's been in the low 90s. It's supposed to cool down at the end of next week. But I mean, now what I'm remembering back from my childhood, I remember you're going to call me a pussy for this, but I was playing soccer.
Yes, I probably will.
Yeah, I was playing soccer, and my team played like October 4th, and it was about this hot in Charlotte, North Carolina. And then the following week, the cold front moved in, and the folks went from T-shirts and flip-flops on the sidelines to huddling in a blanket.
Huh. Interesting. What area did you grow up in again? Remind me.
Charlotte, North Carolina.
You did grow up in Charlotte. I didn't know if that was just kind of the city.
Southeast Charlotte.
Okay. No, I knew that. I guess I knew that, but I was just clarifying. Because like I always say, I'm from Tacoma, which is actually nowhere near where I grew up. It's like an hour because nobody's heard of where I grew up. So
it's like no one's heard of where I live right now. So I just simply, West Tennessee or Memphis.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you, son, for finally coming out after 5 days, just as I start the podcast. Maybe
God is smiling on you.
I was going to say it's the Lord's way of anointing our podcast.
I have a feeling God may take slight offense to that.
I am a man of faith. I got my St. Michael's on right now. So, hey, no, I don't think you'd take offense. Look, let's talk about that for 20 seconds. God has a huge sense of humor. You know how I know this? Because he exists. I exist. That's how I know he has a huge sense of humor.
I just like the way Robin Williams put it. He the way he invented the platypus shows that. He's like, all right, we're gonna take a beaver and put a duck's bill on him. He's a mammal, but he lays eggs.
Right. I'm gonna confuse the hell out of you guys. And oh, by the way, you're gonna have this like fossil record, and that's just gonna fucking stop.
Yep.
It's just gonna stop, and all you Darwinists can just pitch it out for a couple centuries until you figure it out. No, let's talk a little bit about the Republican debate last night. I will say that I give you my quick thoughts. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I was hoping to spend a lot of time on it, but it was such a shit show that I don't even want to spend a lot of time on it. And I think it was a shit show for two reasons, Russ. I'll give you my feedback on this. Way too many candidates on the stage for the second debate. Get rid of North Dakota, get rid of Mike Pence, get rid of have Nikki Haley up there, have Vivek, and have DeSantis at this point, because everybody else is just
that's probably right.
A personal piece of shit. The format sucks. I think that Fox News does a terrible job with the format. I think when in the modern debate system, it's all about the moderators. The moderators try to be cute and be funny and get their press, and it shouldn't be about that. I would prefer an open forum. They give them a question and let them go off. One question or two questions or three questions. Yeah. And so I thought it was a shit show. And third thing, and I'll shut up after I say this. I'm not as well, I don't want to be perceived as Trump deranged syndrome as the fellow that you ruined my chat with last night claims that you are, or anti-Trump, because I'm not anti-Trump. I just didn't think that he was a good candidate for the general election. But the fact that he wasn't there, I hate that. I hate it. I think it's, I get that it's a political ploy, but it's not honest. It's not what the voters deserve. The country deserves better than that. And I think he wasn't there, frankly, because he's afraid to get confronted by people like DeSantis who can excoriate him on his record.
Yeah, I think it's arrogant presumption on his part to not be there. I do think there's a large element of, if I get on stage, I can get exposed, and they might actually try to be able to eat into my lead. I think the only way he gets on stage is if his numbers start to decline precipitously. They start really going down. He thinks he has to get on stage.
Right.
Yeah, he does owe it to the voters.
I think so.
Up there.
I think it's disrespectful.
It's very disrespectful. I thought the debate, I mean, great, maybe I'm just a romanticist, but going back to the debates of Lincoln Douglas, those were actual debates. Right. Last night was not a debate, it was dueling stump speeches. Yeah. Occasionally parsed by the moderators who sucked. Fox News, I mean, the one moderator up there, I don't remember her name, but I mean, she was
Martha McCallum.
No, not Martha, the other one.
Oh,
I don't remember her name, but it's like she came straight out of MSNBC.
Oh, yeah. And I've erased her I kind of erased the entire thing. I was looking forward to it. I threw a little bit of a party here for Huckleberry and I to watch it, man. Made some pasta, had some pizza,
Well, I mean, it wasn't just, it was also the candidates. The candidates would get asked the question, and I'll get to those in a second. They get asked the question, but then they will answer what they want to answer rather than answer the question.
Right.
Mike Pence was like, yeah, I know you just talked about crime, but I want to get back to education for a second, or whatever it was he did.
Mm-hmm.
So the questions also, who would you vote off the island? I mean, they start talking about other stuff right up front.
Oh my God. That was embarrassing. I loved that. I think that was DeSantis's best moment, by the way.
Yeah.
Where he basically tried to embarrass the moderators and say, what are we doing here? We're supposed to be talking about the issues. I'm not going to disrespect my fellow Republicans by answering that question.
Well, and the questions were, environment and other stuff, which would have been great at a Democrat debate, but these are not questions that Republican voters cared about. They didn't get to some cultural issues and some economic, or even they get to energy for the first half an hour. That's a big deal with Republican voters. Yeah. So it was not the best debate. I agree that Burgum especially needs to be gone. Burgum needs to be gone. I thought
he seems like a good. Burgum seems like a good dude and probably somebody I'd be happy to have as my governor, but go away, sir.
He's not presidential material, especially not now. Nobody. I mean, shoot, until he got up there, I think the rest of America knew who he was. If you're one of the 5 people in North Dakota, great, but he's just not there.
We like to drink and fuck up here. That's what we do.
I think Tim Scott destroyed any shot of his campaign. Yeah. We tried to go after DeSantis for the Florida curriculum. I think Chris Christie comes across like a yapping dog.
His stupid pre-rehearsed Donald Duck.
Yeah. Christie's moment was 2012, and he let that pass by because he didn't want to take on an incumbent. By the time 16 rolled around, he was old news, and he's got no shot anywhere.
No, he and I know what he's trying to do. He's trying to disrupt the vote and stay relevant. He knows he doesn't have a shot. I don't know if he's going to throw his weight. No pun intended, actually. But now that I said that, but his 3%, I think he'll probably throw it behind DeSantis, excuse me, who's as close to
maybe
DeSantis. Christie's the only anti-Trump person up there, despite the fact that DeSantis takes him on. DeSantis is not an anti-Trump guy by any stretch. The next closest one, of course, is our favorite lady Republican that's up there. And, she requites herself pretty well in these debates. I'd say she's probably behind DeSantis, the only adult that it seems like on the stage. And as much as I like Vivek and I enjoy him and I enjoy what he's trying to do right now, he comes across as a little kid. He comes across as a teenager trying to get attention at the adult table on Thanksgiving.
Yeah. I think Vivek is fine for either a cabinet spot or a slot on the senatorial ticket in Ohio.
I think he's a rising talent. I do.
I like Nikki Haley, but the party has moved past her. She'd have been a good candidate in 2004 or 2008. Yeah, she's not a good candidate right now. I think Scott lacks enough energy. Christie, like I said, his moment was 2012. Mm-hmm. Pence may be a moral guy, but he's too polished a politician. And after January 6th, right or wrong, the base just is not going to vote for him because they don't like him.
No, they're not. I think he's an honorable dude, and I think he would make a okay president. Here's my take on Pence and what he's trying to do, in my opinion. I think he's trying to get some credibility with mainstream media, that he's distancing himself from Trump so that he can get a nice fat, 7-figure gig somewhere on one of these networks. That's my take on Pence.
I think he's trying to save his legacy. I think he's trying to.
That too, because I think he had the right intentions being Donald Trump's vice president, which, and that was fine. And I'm not, again, I think you're a little more, and correct me, I'm good with this. I think you're a little more anti-Trump than I am. Maybe.
Look, I like some of his policies. I did vote for him in 2020.
Yeah.
I think that problems I have with Trump are, first of all, I don't think he's principled about anything. I think he wants to be popular. And I think he enacted a lot of conservative policies based on two things. Number one, he knew it was popular with the Republican base. And number two, out of spite because the Democrats hated him so much. And these were people he was hanging out with before. Right. I don't think Trump has any intellectual heft. And while I do admire sometimes his combativeness, don't get me wrong, there's times that I'm like,
his tenacity,
I really wish Republicans would fight back.
Sure.
But Trump fights no matter what it is. He's got no filter between his brain and his mouth. He's got no analytical capability. So he doesn't know how to create discerning positions. He appeals to more baser primal emotions in the Republican Party. And look, I get that after the way they treated, Mitt Romney and John McCain and George W. Bush and Bob Dole.
Sure.
I get it. Believe me, I do. But you got to ask yourself, do you want to vote with your balls or with your brains? Are you looking to feel righteous, or are you looking to actually win an election? Because, there are people, again, this is where we get into tribal corners. I can at least pull myself out and understand how big the number of people that absolutely despise Donald Trump is. People who may stay home otherwise would crawl naked over broken glass to vote against him. It's the funniest thing. It's the guy at the top of the ticket in each party that's driving the other side's turnout.
Let's wind this up, because I don't think we need to spend a lot of time talking about it. You and I've talked about Trump's awesomeness and his deficits a lot. I think he's going to win the primary going away. He's way
I think so too. I think it's inevitable.
I think our guy has run a terrible campaign, to be intellectually honest. I don't think DeSantis has run a smart or effective campaign. And that is not to say that his policies and his expertise are not better. I think they are any day of the week. But we will both vote for Trump in the general election. I think that's clear. So I just want to ask you, on behalf of my other friend, Alan, who you ruined my chat last night with.
You're welcome.
Do you have Trump derangement syndrome? I'm just going to ask you that.
No, I do not. I don't think he's the best candidate. I don't think he's the most principled. I think he did some good stuff. I think we overlook some of the bad, like especially with the COVID policy, the COVID vaccine,
his failure to build the wall.
The criminal justice reform that he enacted, which I thought was crazy. Now, again, love the tax cut, love the Supreme Court justices, love the Abraham Accords.
Yeah, absolutely.
Stuff.
Ridiculously effective.
I think he whined like a spoiled child when he lost the election. I think DeSantis is on. Now, Trump did make a major boo-boo that may give DeSantis an opening in Iowa, and that was when he said that DeSantis's 6-week heartbeat bill was a terrible idea. and basically going after the pro-life base in the Republican Party. And the evangelical vote is pretty significant in Iowa. I think DeSantis's only shot is he somehow takes Iowa, carries enough momentum to keep him close to New Hampshire, and then Haley and or Scott take enough vote from Trump in South Carolina to keep it close so DeSantis can win Florida. That's it. If Trump wins either of the first 2 states, especially going away, it's over. I think it probably is anyway, barring a major stumble. I think the Republican Party is being really stupid on this. But again, I mean, if we're a country that's going to insist on a Biden-Trump rematch, we're going to get everything we deserve.
We're going to get everything we deserve. You're right. I did see a couple of polls broke heavily in Trump's favor. I don't know if those are outliers. I think it's too early to really make any decisions on that.
I think those polls change when, and again, I'm not commenting on the merit of the cases, but I think when the cases start coming through court and you start seeing Trump stand in front of a judge, and Trump, who very stupidly says he wants to take the stand in his own defense, the first thing a lawyer tells everybody
if he does that,
shut up and don't talk. You never put your client on the stand, because the prosecutor, imagine what a halfway competent prosecutor is going to do with Donald Trump on the stand. Trump doesn't know when to shut up.
No, he doesn't. And to his credit, he doesn't know when to shut up. And to his deficit, he doesn't know when to shut up.
Yeah.
You both admire the fuck out of Trump for that. And you both go, you're an idiot for that. And Trump, like you said, Trump is not a beaming intellectual by any stretch of the imagination. I too, like all those things you cited, the Abraham Accords, tax cuts, gas price. He was the best one-term president we've ever had in history by far, and by any metric. And well, you don't count Abraham Lincoln because he couldn't help his one term. Boom. Yeah. Sorry, too soon.
He did start a second term.
Too soon. But oh god, we're gonna lose. We're gonna lose fans over that one. Come on. We do say comedy in the tagline. We do say comedy in the tagline. But
let
me just finish my point with,
okay.
I get the reaction and stuff like that, but when stuff like that is that is so succinct to say, I get the reaction. I get people's ire. I get my friend Alan's ire that you sparred with last night on the chat, as opposed to anybody else being able to chat. And that, yes, that's my passive aggressive way of saying fuck you to both of you. But I get it. But don't let your ire decide your politics, because it's no different than the left saying, okay, I'm a one issue voter because I have friends that are teachers that became Democrats overnight. There are people that vote only because of the abortion issue, and they think that abortion's been banned when in fact the Supreme Court made this great decision to turn it over to the states, which is where it should have been all along, because we're a republic. Okay. It's just think about where you're coming from. That's all I ask for people to do. Yeah, and I do too. And look, if Trump is up this far and he wins the primary, I will still criticize his policies, but he's got my vote. Duh.
Yeah. I'll be honest, my vote probably won't matter in Tennessee, because if Trump can't take Tennessee without my vote, then he's got bigger problems.
Right. Right.
I do want to briefly...
Well, and my vote doesn't matter either, because I'm in Washington State.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'll still vote for him.
I would like to briefly address last night / today's controversy, the one that gave you so much joy, and some of the people who wanted to actually discuss the debate.
I woke up kind of pissed, as you know.
I know. I got your text this morning. But it started when somebody called Pence a traitor, which I think is well overblown. And then I knew exactly where it was going. It was into the conspiracy theory bullshit over the 2020 election.
Of course, Pence is not a traitor. He did his job.
Yeah, you know me. I am, first of all, I respond to stuff I think is wrong and stupid, and based on who I am, I tend to respond very aggressively.
Yes,
That's
you
just
do.
Who I am.
Yes, you do.
I have a low tolerance for stupid people and conspiracy theorists. There are views I can respect, like let's talk about the way mail-in ballots worked, or let's talk about court standing. When you go into fraud that's not proven and you misquote the 12th Amendment to the Constitution, then I really do not have tolerance for that. I do not. Let me just
interject, and the gentleman that you were sparring with is not here to defend himself, so I just want to be respectful.
I understand. I'm not going to go into too much of that, but I'm just talking in general. I think that the right, the most of the loonies, in my opinion, are on the left.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at this, but the right does have a couple of issues. And this is not any individual specific. This is the right. Most of it has a couple of issues that they go wacky on that I take issue with. One is this, and we may lose folks over this, but one is over supposedly, fraud in the 2020 elections. There's a whole thing with that. Have there been individual instances of voting fraud? Sure. Was there enough to tip the scales?
Absolutely.
No.
Without question. Without question.
Was there enough to tip the scales? No. And the evidence is not there. People use suppositions and cherry pick numerical instances and stats to try to say, well, this is some kind of proof. No, it's not. That's one of my bugaboos. It's a similar bugaboo about the right talking about how, we know what kind of abortion the COVID vaccine has been, but when the right starts talking about they're putting microchips in the vaccine to track you, that's another bugaboo of mine. And then one last thing. This is just laugh. Well,
let's make it the last thing.
Yeah, two last things, real quick. Two last things, and then I'm done. And I laugh at both of these. One is when I disagree with somebody on the right and they call me a leftist or spouting leftist talking points.
Holy shit, dude!
It does make me snicker a little bit because I'm like, okay, just because I'm not part of the tribal core.
You're further to the right than I am. You're further to the right than I am by far.
And then the absolute last thing, and this also makes me chuckle, and people who know me in real life, such as yourself, when I get told that, I would never act this way if I was meeting somebody in person or face to face. I keep reminding people I'm the same asshole in person that I am everywhere else. And that's one of the reasons why I'm such a popular person. Right. I have no problem being an asshole. Sometimes I revel in it.
Yeah, no, I get it. And if you're not a drinker and I'm very tame in my life too, but if we are ever at a bar together, I know to have to be the guy to bail you out of that fucking fight. I know that about you. So
yeah, but I fight dirty. I don't fight fair.
No, right, it's moving on. And if my friend and another fellow I serve with, Alan, is listening, you are welcome to come on the podcast and have a conversation. And I would like it to be a conversation, not measuring dicks, kind of a thing. And
we'd have to measure something else. I don't know that I could really like.
Well, no, if I knowing Alan and knowing you, if we added them up, it'd be about 4.7 inches total.
So you're giving me credit for 3 inches? That's generous.
Love you, Alan. No, I just next time we have a chat, there's going to be ground rules. So
Coop will moderate next time. To be honest, hey, just real quick,
I just gave up. I'm just like, fuck this. I'm just going to eat some pizza and hang out.
For folks out there in podcast land, Coop sent me a new intro to the pod this morning for me to listen to, which was absolutely fabulous, by the way.
Oh, thank you, man.
I thought that was great when you but when I first saw Anthony Koopman has dropped an audio file, I thought you would put it in the general chat and you were telling people, all right, fuckers, stop doing this shit. I really thought that's what you had put in there at first.
No, I think people, we had quite a few people on board at one point. We had almost 100 on board at one point, and then you two assholes have to go out there and piss on each other. And it's like people were bailing left and right. And then we lost some members off of.
I'm still always amazed when I tell people what I'm like, and they don't believe me.
No, that's all good. I honestly think you and my friend Alan would get along quite well together face to face, because you're both good. You're both good dudes, and you're both soldiers. And he's also an Army officer, retired. Good dude. I worked for them towards the end of my career. Nice guy.
Honestly, I can get along with just about anybody, but I can also be a dick when I feel I need to.
No, I get it. I didn't disagree with you guys standing your ground. I just wish you would have done it on your own personal PMs.
I usually engage in the forum in which I'm engaged in.
I know you do, Russ. I'm not yelling at you, but I will tell all you loyal people that are left after that fucking thing.
We did lose a few.
We did lose a few, and that's, it is what it is, but I will carefully moderate the next chat. When there's an event, I will. I failed. I failed. I'll throw myself under the bus. I should have, if you guys were in the same room doing this shit, I would have taken you both by the fucking neck and went, knock it off. But I did not do that. That was my failure. So let's get into it, Russ. this might be a long pod because I have a few videos. So
let's get into the meat of the pod now. What we really came here for.
Right. Not just that, but just I love you, Alan. Glad you're out there. You're a patriot and you're a good Republican. Not that I'm a Republican, but you're a good one. I'm a shitty Republican. So anyway, let's get into our videos, Russ. What do you think?
Sounds like a plan.
All right. I got several videos to show you. This first one is the state of education in our country. And you may have seen this. This is the education secretary, Miguel
I think
Cardona.
I know exactly which one you're about to show.
Miguel Cardona, and I really want to show this because this shows you the amount of respect that this administration has for parents. You need to read through the lines a little bit on this, what he's referring to, but I think it'll become illuminating as soon as I play it. So here we go.
You know, I've been in education, about 25 years, not including the time I was in higher ed as a student. I've never seen it where it is now. There was civility. We could disagree. We could have healthy conversations around what's best for kids. I respect differences of opinions.
Well, that's an ugly dude.
I don't have too much respect for people that are misbehaving in public and then acting as if they know what's right for kids.
You know who he's talking about right there, right?
Talking about parents. Yeah, I got two things that struck me right off the bat. The reason why conversations were slightly different a couple decades ago was, number one, you weren't trying to cancel people for disagreeing with you. And number two, it really does matter what you're pushing. Okay. 2 decades ago, we weren't telling, children that, it was okay to read genderqueer about how you can give somebody a blowjob. And there wasn't people trying to say that boys could be girls and girls could be boys. So what you push matters. And then when you tell them that doesn't need to be in there, you start kicking parents out of these meetings. You start trying to cancel parents for this stuff. And then you imply, like that asshole did, that parents should have less say over their child's education. I'm sorry, my children are not a ward of the state. My children, myself and my wife are the ones who decide how our children are educated. The schools are a partner in that, but let there be no mistake about who's at the top of that partnership. That's the parents. That's not the state.
When I saw that video, I can't remember where I saw it for the first time. I know that parents across, full disclosure, I don't have any kids in school or anything like that. But I was a kid and I had a mom and dad. I remember my mother, who, that I venerate as almost to sainthood. Mm-hmm. The few times that I did have conflicts, because I was a good student, I was an athlete and all that stuff, straight A student. But I remember I had a conflict, and I can remember my mom, 5'1.5" of her, Bavarian fucking whirling dervish that she was. And she was such a sweet woman, but oh my fucking God, you did not piss Joni off. Johanna, when she would, it was like, she would assume it was like Bruce Wayne, Batman. Yeah. There was Joni, who everybody loved, and then there was Johanna. As I used to joke, Johanna the Mountain People, and from Bavaria. And I remember her going after one of my coaches one time. Is like, "You asshole! You do not treat my son like this, you asshole!" And he was scared. I mean, he was like backing off. This is a full fucking grown man who had done wrong, and he was backing off and backstepping. That's how they used to treat parents back in the day, because parents had the say. Now, I have friends that are teachers, and I badmouth teachers, but I have friends that are good teachers, and they talk about how parents were too involved at one point, probably 10 years ago or so. It was kind of gross, and you couldn't discipline kids. So I think the whole ideology shifted way over here to where fuck parents, and I think the union kind of backed them up. And this bastard, this asshole fuck, who's the Secretary of Education, which I think the Department of Education is one of those government entities that should just go away. It should just go away.
It doesn't need
because
it's
ever
not
since
something we've had since the founding of the republic. It came about under the Jimmy Carter administration in the late 1970s.
And our education system has actually gone down every year since we've had the department. I will throw a slide up in the next Coop's Cold Hard Facts if you don't believe me, folks. I've researched this. This son of a bitch basically says that parents shouldn't have any right to confront teachers or the Department of Education over anything.
He can go fuck himself.
This is insane. This is as anti-American as I can possibly. It's you know what? Fuck that. It's anti-human.
Well, hey, everybody. This is Coop, the handsome and debonair one of the Two Grumpy Bastards podcast. Not to mention I'm the only one that's an actual bastard. Google that shit. Don't, actually. Hey, I'm here to do a shameless plug for our merchandise. You can find us at twogrumpybastardsmerchandise.com. We got a whole bunch of new merchandise in. I think you'll like some of the new choices. There's some pro-Second Amendment. There's some anti-Washington State Governor stuff on there. I think you'll really appreciate it. New stuff coming all the time. I have 2 great designs in the works, so please, to support this podcast, that's one of the easiest ways to do it. We're also on Etsy. Yeah, I know, Etsy. You can find our products on eBay as well. Storm King Mercantile is the name of the store there that fronts us. And there's many, many other ways to support this podcast, of course. We have a Patreon page, same thing, Two Grumpy Bastards. We certainly would appreciate you following us on Instagram. Most of you probably know we have a Facebook page, Two Grumpy Bastards Podcast. We have a lot of fun over there, a lot of frivolity, a lot of memes, and a lot of hard-hitting news, believe it or not. A lot of great people in that group. Also, all of the social media outlets, including now on TikTok. You can find us there. And one of the things that I really wanted to tell you is if you have any feedback for Russ, especially because he kind of sucks, feel free to email us at twogrumpybastards@gmail.com. That's the easiest way to get a hold of us, or you can always leave us a comment or an IM on, or DM, I should say. See, I'm so savvy. I'm so savvy. On our Facebook page. So we really appreciate you listening or watching us over there on YouTube as well. And we hope you do both, because Russ is something to look at. I said something. I didn't say something really great to look at. Anyway, thanks for listening. This is your intrepid, amazing, and grateful host of the Two Grumpy Bastards podcast, Coop. Remember, keep your focus and stay wokeless.
Well, look, one of the things I've been saying for a while is what's going to spark the backlash, and it has sparked the backlash, is when they come after the children. A lot of people will put up with a lot of bullshit, but when you start going after their kids, they're gonna fight back. And if you go after them hard enough, you're going to spark a bad backlash.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad I wanted to play that because I know we've had Patricia Bellamy on a couple of years ago, who was fighting the good fight down there in Camas, Washington, We the People movement that happened against the school board. And I haven't checked in with her for a while, but you know, it's insane to me. It's insane to me. Look, you're not their parents. And this is the attitude that leads to like the Prop 555 up here in Washington that became law, which is House Bill, I'm sorry, not prop. I apologize. House Bill 555, which allows, you know, teachers to conceal gender identity issues, and it allows kids to go into a shelter away from their parents if their parents disagree with gender transition. I mean, this is the kind of attitude that leads to that. It is. Or you know, when people, oh, Florida banned a bunch of books. Yeah, they banned a bunch of books that show graphic depictions of homosexual sex and a bunch of other stuff. They didn't ban the books. They just didn't want them in their schools. There's a difference.
That's exactly it. You can go to any bookstore in Florida and find these books.
Yes, there's a difference, but you won't find them in a grade school library. Oh, perish the fucking thought.
Yeah, my favorite is when they tried to say that a Florida school district banned the Diary of Anne Frank. And when you look at it, they didn't ban the Diary of Anne Frank. They banned the graphic novel adaptation of the Diary of Anne Frank, in which Anne and her 14-year-old friend decided to show each other their breasts and talk about which guys they wanted to have sex with.
This is what happens when the left takes over media, the education system, and Hollywood. This is what happens.
Yep.
This is what we're fighting now, folks. We're
Those
the
are the three
Christians. We're
cultural
the
levers.
Christians of the. We're the Christians of the 1st and 2nd century, where if you believed in something, you got thrown in Nero's circus. I'm just saying.
Those three that you mentioned, education, entertainment, and the media, are the three levers of cultural power. I had this discussion with somebody a while back who was like, well, the church has a lot of influence. I was like, no, it doesn't.
Not
The
anymore.
church has no influence. The church has only
an
influence
underground
within
movement these days.
Yeah, within its own sphere. But everybody picks up their values from Hollywood movies or Netflix.
Right.
They get their opinions shaped by the media, and they get hounded by the educational system. And it's not just college education anymore. It's down to the elementary, middle, and high schools. And parents, like I said, they've had enough. Now, part of me cynically wonders if some of these folks do this because they're not having children of their own, but they still want to pass on their own values.
Yeah.
So they infiltrate this stuff.
Great point.
Because if you look at it, the only people at or above replacement rate anywhere in the United States are religious people, Orthodox Jews, the Mormons, fundamentalist Catholics, and fundamentalist Protestants.
Thank God.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud? I'm sorry. Did I say that?
But the secular agnostic atheist sect, the elites, are having at most one. You get the rare person that'll have two, but the rates in those communities are below 1.2. Replacement rate is 2.3. So if you're not having, and some folks say, well, how is above 2 a replacement rate? Because kids die. It happens. You get old people that die off quicker. But what I'm saying is that these people are not having children of their own. They still want to pass on their values. They want to take your kids and do it for you.
I'll tell you a quick story. And I have a bunch of videos, so this will have to be the last bit, but of this subject.
Who gets the last word?
I get the last word on this one for once. No, I don't keep score. So there was a girl that I knew in high school that was very popular, very cute, very amazing. She was an athlete, and her and I were very close, but I always wanted to go to that next level, but it never quite did. So she ended up dating my rival. All right. So, and that bugged me. I didn't hate the guy or anything like that because he was a nice guy and he was a good athlete, good looking guy. I got it. But I put a lot of time and energy and effort into it, and it didn't go my way. And I was like, fuck. So I was hanging out with her, hanging out at her. I'm having a hard time with English tonight, folks. I'm sorry. Hanging out with her in her house one night, and I looked her in the eye, and I'm not going to use any names. I'm just not going to do that. I don't know if either of them listens to the pod, but it doesn't matter. It's disrespectful. I looked her in the eye and I said, here's the thing. If you end up marrying him and having kids with him, I'm going to find the hottest, most athletic, smartest woman on planet Earth. I'm going to have 6 kids, and I'm going to raise my kids to do one thing, to kick your kids' ass every fucking day on planet Earth. I don't care where they go to high school. I don't care what they do. My kids will kick your kids' ass. And she looked at me like I was joking, and I said, I'm not fucking kidding. Well, she didn't end up marrying him, so I didn't have to do that. But I almost think that's what the analogy needs to be these days. Not that I'm advocating violence, but in a metaphorical sense, that people that are actually having children and having families of faith and value need to rise up and flourish that. Does that make sense?
It does.
I mean, it does.
You need to inculcate those values. You need to be watchful of them. You need to be mindful of what your kids are shown,
right?
Who's teaching them, what they're being taught. Real quick, last thing, going back to Cardona's stuff, he might have more credibility if the education system hasn't gone into the toilet. But you got like schools in Baltimore where literally no student is passing the math proficiency exam.
Yeah, you're doing a good job there, buddy. I've been in education for 25 years. Like I told the state trooper that pulled me over in California one time, he said, I've been doing this for 25 years. And I said, sir, it doesn't mean you're good at it.
Yep, I'm sure that went well for you.
Actually, I got out of the ticket. He thought that was funny. To his credit, he thought that was funny.
That's also true.
It was true. All right, next video. Let's do this next video. So we're gonna talk about the border here, Russ, for the next 2 videos. So I'll show you this next one. I'm sure you've probably seen this one too. Oh my God. I shouldn't have hate in my heart, but this woman brings me to it. So let me just
Is this AOC?
Let me just play the video. No.
Oh, the world's worst.
What do you call it here at the White House when 10,000 people illegally cross the border in a single day?
So what do you call it, Peter, when GOP puts forth a wait, no, you can't. I'm answering. Okay, we're gonna move on. No, we're moving on.
Great, please.
In the back.
You said you were stopping the flow at the border.
No. I tried to answer, Peter. I tried to answer the question. You stopped me.
That never gets old. That little piece at the end, it never gets old.
Yeah. She did not answer the question. She tried to answer the question with a question by shifting blame.
Oh my God!
She knows what a shit show it is down there.
Oh, because the GOP is in charge of the border? Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, Greg Abbott tried to further secure Texas's border, and Biden moved the federal government and the courts to tell him to take down the barricades he was putting in the water on the Rio Grande.
Oh my God. I'd put fucking mines in that motherfucker.
Yeah, well, I mean, my plan for securing the border wouldn't go over very well because it would include an in-depth obstacle belt that's manned with Overwatch.
Yeah, no, hey, you know
and
what
then
I was
when you get the tunnels going underneath, you collapse the tunnels with seismic charges.
In 1994, 1995, when I served with the 1st Cav Division, our scout platoons would rotate down there to train on the border. That people think that might violate posse comitatus. They didn't engage, but they had the border patrol in their hip pocket. So it was good training for our scout platoons to go down there and, do dirts and, IR and blah, 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 blah. I won't get into the military jargon because a lot of people aren't in the military. It was great training. I would absolutely do that again or mobilize. Texas has an entire armored division as their National Guard, an entire division, by the way. Yep. And they're very well trained and they could fucking kick some ass. I would have them patrolling. I'd have we could get into the whole human trafficking thing right now. We could get into, all of that. What a fucking stupid. I'm not going to cuss for once. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay, well, look.
How restrained am I right now?
You are. I'm impressed. Look, every nation has the right to control its borders.
I'm trying to be Jesus-like right now.
I'm sure the F-bombs dropped earlier won't do that.
It's different now.
Every country has the right to control its borders. I think that the reason that this administration is not controlling the borders and the Democrats haven't wanted to control the borders, and I'll get the Republicans in a second because they're not innocent in this. But the main reason the Democrats don't want to control the borders is because they think that they'll eventually get amnesty for these folks, and they see millions of new Democratic voters that can keep them in power.
Of course.
That's what they're doing. Now, the Republicans are not off scot-free on this because they haven't addressed the issue because they see cheap labor. They want to get cheap labor in. They want to get cheap labor into the country so they can pay less. That's going to harm folks actually making decent wages. You hear all the time, hey, these are jobs that Americans won't do. No, those are jobs Americans won't do at that price. But trust me, if you pay a decent wage, college students will go out and pick lettuce or strawberries in the summertime. Okay,
I worked in sawmills. I was a scholarship student, and I had my school all paid for 100%. Plus, I got a kickback. But I worked at a fucking sawmill every summer because I liked the spending money when I was in college. A fucking sawmill. And for those of you that don't know what kind of hard labor that is, go work in a fucking sawmill.
Yeah.
Back in 1990 or 1988 or whatever it was. It was brutal. It was goddamn brutal. If you didn't get hurt, break a bone, or fucking, I came out my arms looking like fucking road maps and scars and all that shit. But I kind of loved it because, it was what a man did. And fuck you. I'm sorry. I have no respect for that attitude, Russ.
She's got no command of the situation. She wants to shift blame because she knows where public opinion is on this. It's an embarrassment. They don't have any idea what
She's an embarrassing human being.
She is. She was selected for all the wrong reasons, and she is not very good at her job. She makes
the entire administration looks. I don't even know. Do you remember back in our Army days when you saw a unit that was completely fucked up, and like the commander and the NC, it was nowhere near as bad as this. Not even close.
That's true.
I mean, they at least probably did their job, kind of. And this administration it's not even kind of.
Well, it's also rudderless because let's be honest, Biden is an empty suit. The advisors are the ones controlling him, and all they do is they cringe every time he gets off script. But he's a figurehead. He's not making any decisions on this.
You think there'd be somebody there? You think there'd be a Lex Luthor behind him making the goddamn decisions that would?
Well, they are, but they're multiple of them, and they're making decisions to try to drag the country to the left.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, it's I've thought that for well over 2 years now. This was a puppet government set up by the far left and the Klauses of the world who are actually have their claws in it. I'm selling like gay frogs now, but I think gay frog dude was far closer to the truth than a lot of people were. All right, let me share another video with you, bud. Did I sound like a Canadian hockey player there for a second, didn't I? Let me share another video with you, bud.
You didn't say A.
Yeah, you don't have to. Boys, reach down and grab your bowls. All right, here we go. Same topic. I don't know if you've seen this video or not, but same topic. When our favorite journalist, Mr. Acosta, took on one of the representatives.
Oh, folks, love you. Yeah, I'll tell you that in a second.
All right, we'll check this out. Here
it just sounds like you're throwing rhetoric around with no basis in fact.
Acosta's such a fucking pussy.
No, you can. Have you been to the border?
Of course I have.
Have you seen what's going on? The rapes, it's open. I mean, nobody can deny that.
The border is,
and they've got it's a crisis. Where?
I'll ask the question, sir. And the border is not open. That is something that is peddled as a talking point, but it's not true. There are fences, there are walls, there are border patrol agents who work on the border.
The 5+ million that have gotten into this country illegally is not a figment of our imagination. Ask the border patrol agents. Ask anybody down there. They're frustrated.
But I guess I haven't. You have not been able to answer my question as to how you effectively do border enforcement if you're shutting down the government. I guess we're not going to get an answer to that question.
What an arrogant piece of shit and a stupid piece of shit.
Acosta is one of the reasons I hate the human race. Okay, he is a deceiver. He is an intentional liar. He is so full of himself. I mean, lady, to somewhat quote Ben Shapiro here. Find yourself someone who loves you like Jim Acosta loves himself.
Yeah.
Okay. He is.
I never heard Ben Shapiro say that, but that's accurate. That's accurate.
Yeah. He said it a few times, but he is a liar. He is an arrogant ass. He has no concept. He tries to claim he's objective. I would have more respect for him if he was at least honest that he's not objective.
Right.
Kind of like Katie Couric came out, long after her career is essentially over and finally said, yeah, I'm liberal and I don't have, I come at things from that. I'm like, yeah, okay, no shit, Sherlock. I think we knew that like 25 years ago.
Right.
So Acosta saying that is just absolute bullshit. It's one of the things that stokes my ire at the left because you can't even be honest about basic facts. Claiming that the border is open. Claiming that the border is not open. What a crock of shit.
We don't have a border, sir. A border is something that delineates nationalism, and that it's a geographical and ideological line that is drawn between countries. We don't have a border anymore. Now, to be fair, I don't think any president in the modern era has done a great job with the border.
No,
and that's Republican and Democrat.
I agree. Reagan actually gave amnesty. Now the thing people forget was It was supposed to be amnesty and then secure the border, which is why when people start talking about it now, we're like, you fooled us once. Secure the border, then maybe we'll talk about other stuff. But you got to secure the border first.
That and how could anybody disagree with that? Bill Clinton was a huge secure the border proponent. So was Obama, to be quite honest with you. I mean, even under the Obama administration, they were talking about so why didn't you do it? I mean, it's the easiest. You can give Ukraine $260 billion for fucking letting Zelensky look like a fucking clown, but you can't secure our southern border for 1/100th of the cost of that. That's insane. Just secure it. If you want to be humane, great. Create a big old arch, an arch of love, whether it's at Laredo or wherever or El Paso or wherever you want to do it, and fucking hire the border. You have the border patrol agents. Then you don't have to have them spread out over. I mean, do you know that Texas border with Mexico constitutes 1/3 of our southern hemisphere in the United States? 1/3. So if you have that and you concentrate it, what's inhumane about that? Then you process. Oh my God. What I'm saying makes sense. I get it. I know I'm getting all wound up again, but I see that look on your face. Shut up, Coop. You're getting wound up. I get it.
We have a responsibility to secure our border. We get to decide who comes in. And just real quick, I hope I'm not about to undercut any other videos you're about to show, but when you mentioned Zelensky, I don't know if you saw what happened in Canada.
I did. I didn't even I figured everybody knew about that video, so I didn't even.
Yeah, when the Canadian Prime Minister honored a former member of the Waffen SS, I thought that was. I'm like, dude, do you not have Google up in Canada?
It kind of hits close to home what everybody accuses me of being, so I didn't want to show that.
Yeah. Anyway, I just thought it was funny.
I'm kidding about that.
And everyone says, hey, securing the southern border is racist. Why don't you secure the northern border? Because no one's coming across into the United States over the northern border, dumbass. They're all trying to get into the southern border.
You could. And anyway, no, it's the southern border that they're pouring in through. So legal immigration's great. Legal immigration's great. I'm not anti-immigration. I'm anti-illegal immigration, and it's gross. And I'm glad that they have programs where they're shipping these fuckers to all these blue cities.
It's finally making an impact.
It's making an impact. Even the New York mayor's like, what the fuck? I can't deal with this.
Yeah.
Because I'm a pussy. I'm a pussy, and I declared myself a sanctuary city. Well, you're a sanctuary city. Here you go. Yeah. Bitch.
Well, I do want to make one last point about the securing the border. Folks say, hey, look, if you build a wall or something, they'll just figure out another way to go in. Well, that's a great way to say, not that you don't want to do anything. Hey, if I put an alarm on my bank, they'll still figure out a way to steal the money. Okay. Just you make it harder. Okay. Increase the deterrent effect and you will reduce the number of illegal immigrants.
Make it harder. That's all we're asking. We're not asking to kill the world. Make it harder. Fuck. Anyway. All right. So let's get to another video because I'm angry.
Wound up.
All right. So this one's going to be different. You know who Neal deGrasse Tyson is?
Oh, yes. He's on par with Jim Acosta about people who love themselves.
Yeah. Oh my God. I mean, so back in the day,
don't tell me this is the trigonometry video.
Yes, it is.
I have seen this.
All right. So to lay down the context of this, Neal deGrasse Tyson, astrophysicist who loves himself some bunch. I used to actually like the guy. I used to actually listen to his podcast way back.
Yeah, 15 years ago.
Oh my God. He has bought into his character of himself. He is self-aggrandizing. He's
a snake oil salesman.
When I actually started looking at him, he hasn't published any papers of note. He's basically a museum curator, but he's a black guy with a PhD from Columbia in astrophysics. And so he's got a podcast and they've given him a national forum. He kind of tried to, I think he got jealous of Michio Kaku, who's actually a good dude. who's actually very straight laced and all that. Japanese American who is also an astrophysicist who became kind of a media sensation. I think Neil deGrasse Tyson has always wanted Carl Sagan's jock. That's my take on him now. So he's gotten into politics. He's gotten into socialist politics. He has a podcast. I think it's, what is it called? Starcat, whatever. He and his racist sidekick, who's not funny, who's supposedly a comedian, Chuck Nice. It always denigrates into leftist politics and to anti-white stuff. So watch him lose his shit in this, Russ.
I've seen it.
I've hated this guy for a while. Watch him lose his shit.
Or you walk into a space and there's stalls that are closed off, but then you exit the stall and you come to a communal sink. Okay? Yes. So it's a solvable problem where everyone has a private space rather than for themselves, rather than having a gender private space. Okay? It's solvable on a level. By the way, let me give an example. We have a school from the early 20th century in New York.
Right, it's the earliest 20th century, you dumb fuck.
And I just saw it the other day. There's an entrance here and an entrance there, and this entrance says girls, and this entrance says boys. It's like, what the fuck? What? You separate them just to enter the school? I can look back on that and say that was ridiculous. You guys, what were you thinking? But back then, I'm sure it made complete sense that you're going to send the girls through that entrance, and there's an elementary school, and the boys through that entrance, okay? So it is possible to look back on whatever you were doing and say, my gosh, that was really short-sighted, and look at the solution that was proposed and implemented. That was a good idea. We moved on from that.
I think a lot of people would have an issue with what you're saying, Neil, is because they see women being denied opportunities. They see an unfair playing field, metaphorically and literally speaking.
So fix the playing field, damn it. What? Don't say it's an unfair playing field. So all of a sudden the big issue is trans women taking the slot of a woman in an unfair playing field. Fix the playing field. And you know something? The day you fix that playing field, this conversation will look completely ridiculous.
Watch him cackle.
That's what I'm trying to tell you.
He has no answer.
So how do you fix the playing field? I'm curious.
Well, that's hard. It's hard. We've been through. Thank you for that question.
I think look, if you're advancing that as a solution, I think I have a right to ask you.
No, it's great. I don't have a fast solution.
Okay, before we dissect this for a couple of minutes, I just want to say one thing. Hey,
look, first of all, I don't know why Tyson thinks he has any smarter opinion on this than anybody else. I mean, he's an astrophysicist. Okay.
Well, supposedly he curates a museum.
Yeah, but look, I don't go to my dentist. I don't go to my dentist for advice about cranial issues. Okay. I don't go to my lawyer for advice on, which eggs I'm going to pick out from the chicken coop. Okay. He doesn't have expertise in biology or sociology. He is a person like anybody else, and he has a very stupid opinion on this. One thing you didn't show that's also in that clip was when he talked about the playing field. Sports would be fine if we just segregated by weight class, because if it was just like 150-pound people, I'm sorry, a 150-pound man is going to kick the shit out of a 150-pound woman. That's just the way it works.
Fuck yes. No, I just wanted to show that because that's a continuation of this whole fucking cabal about transgender. Why would you dare not let them compete? Well, here's why men like Russ and I don't want women competing in men's sports, because we don't want you to die. We don't want you to die. Because that's what's going to happen if you actually take that shit seriously. And you'll lose every goddamn time. Riley Gaines. Listen to Riley Gaines. Go on her podcast. Listen to her. She has personal experience about this. Anyway, I used to actually like Neal deGrasse Tyson when he first came out because it's like, oh, it's refreshing. And he's got, I'm a Michio Kaku fan, and I'm into quantum physics. So I follow a lot of podcasts and YouTube channels on some of these guys. He has gone over the top as a political hack. Talk about what's going on Pluto, motherfucker. And you're the one who actually got Pluto relegated to a non-planet, by the way. That was him.
Yeah. Hey, real quick, you talked about women in men's sports. I don't know if you're tracking what's going on at a Division III school, Shenandoah University, with this the first non-kicker female player, Haley Van Voorhis, I think is her name. They made a big deal about her being the first female player out, non-kicker out there, and that's all sounds great. I think she's playing safety. But I want you to watch what happens when people lose their shit once she is subjected to a blindside block. She starts going down the field and some, running back or even another wide receiver decides to engage and knocks her on her ass. All right, you watch, people will lose their minds. Okay, and it's going to be people who were pushing her in football to begin with. Okay, men and women are different. Different doesn't mean unequal. Different means different. Okay, we are built differently. We evolved for the roles in society differently. I didn't make the rules. I'm sorry they exist that way. Men have greater upper respiratory capacity, denser muscles, stronger bones. That's just the way we evolved. Okay, there's a reason we don't put them together. Women have other things that men don't have that make them great in other things. Okay, but when it comes to pure physical capacity, that's one of the things about it. Plus, it denigrates and tries to erase women when you tell women that, hey, look, here's a man who is better at being a woman than you are.
Right.
All right. Neal deGrasse Tyson, I don't know if he actually believes this bullshit or if he's afraid of getting canceled by saying it.
I think he does. I think he's insane.
If he does, then he's delusional and he should not even be a scientist, because this is not this is like having an opinion that gravity doesn't exist or the world is flat.
I was going to make that point. Having a lot of hard science backgrounds and a couple of degrees in it, if you can't look at the empirical evidence, I'm a man of faith and I'm a man of science. I don't think they're diametrically opposed. I think they talk about the same thing in two different ways. That's always been my tenet, and it always will be. Consciousness can't be explained by science, but science can be explained by consciousness. To me, it's very easy. It's very easy. But a guy like him who's a reductionist and is an atheist and wants to go around flap it, fuck you, dude. I mean, how dare you even flap? Talk to me about Saturn, and I might listen to you. You know what I'm saying? It's what a gross human being. I would not be surprised if he got Me Too'd, because he gives up. I used to talk to a girl who girl. That was diminutive. I apologize. A young lady who got her PhD, working on her PhD in cosmology, and she's met him and said he was the creepiest guy she ever met. And she spends her nights at an observatory. I don't talk to her anymore, but we were friends for a while. Creepiest guy I ever met. It wasn't pleasant talking to him.
Yeah, well,
and look, that's just one person's opinion, but it kind of lined up with what I think about the guy.
I don't think that they understand that one of the reasons that the pushback is happening so hard on this is because when you try to make human beings androgynous, interchangeable parts, you upend the entire society. A society that has evolved over biologically and societally over the last 150,000 years. It's not up to you to change it because you think reality is mean. Okay? Yeah. Some of the people who are changing, they have mental issues. And I'm sorry, we need to get them the help that they should get. And also, if you want to go live on your own and believe whatever you are, fine. But the moment you are trying to force me to buy into your delusion, okay, I got a problem with that, because it's not real. I could take 100 women and 10 trans women who are men who think that they are women and put them on a desert island. And if they all die 200 years from now, somebody digs up their bones, they will find not 110 women, they'll find 100 women and 10 men, because our skeletal structures are different.
Yes, sir. I agree with you. All right. Let's move on. The next video. Let's see.
We've got a lot of these tonight, folks. He didn't warn me.
What's that?
I was telling the podcast audience that you have a lot of these. I didn't know how many you had, but bear with him.
I didn't warn you ahead of time. I said we're going to do a video review tonight. So After this, I have one more, but we'll save it to the end. So this is a segment we like to call Biden's Bidet. And I think you know what I'm going to play. I think you have a good idea of what is going to happen.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody listen carefully to yet another one of Biden's gaffes.
And two of the great artists of our time representing the groundbreaking legacy of hip-hop in America, LL Cool J.
Listen to this.
By the way, that man's got biceps bigger than my thighs. I think he's spent. And MC Light, both of you, thank you. Because they both have the light off on the mic, you know you're all here to listen to music. Mike Bivens, 40 years producing music that lifts our soul.
Yeah, wasn't it great to see a guy who used to hang out with segregationists call LL Cool J a boy?
Yeah, exactly. Get his name wrong, call him a boy. The guy that his father and he saw two guys making out in 1953 on a straight.
Oh, Joey, that's real love.
That's real low. That's real love, Joey. There has never been a president like this in history. And I am no longer friends with several people because they voted for this guy and they continue to not necessarily support him, but support the entire idea of voting for him in the first place. This is one of the worst human beings that's ever lived. The most corrupt president we've ever had by far. And I can go way back in history because I know my history. There's some corrupt motherfuckers back there. I get it. I mean, but we're talking about centuries past, bought and paid for. This is the worst human being that's ever been president in the history of the United States, Russ.
Yeah. You showed the clip we talking about LL Cool J and using what most folks have seen as a racial slur towards African Americans for quite a while now.
Right.
But here's an addendum that I don't know if you know about this. He was talking to the National Hispanic Caucus, the Congressional Hispanic Caucus, recently about this, and he referred to them as the Congressional Black Caucus. Dude doesn't even know who the hell he's talking to.
I didn't even bother putting that video up because I thought this one was even more acerbic.
Yeah, but they're related.
Yeah, no, it's the same thing. Look, it belies his mental health issue. It belies, but here's the thing that I can tell you in my experience with people that are starting to go through early onset dementia and other things, their true nature kind of comes out. And this boy, you can't make that mistake if you're in charge of your faculties. You don't make that mistake. I had a soldier when I was a platoon leader. You know what an attaboy is?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's just an Army term. Attaboy, attaboy. And I went up to a black soldier and I pat him on the back and I go, attaboy. Sir, don't call me a boy. And of course, I locked his fucking heels immediately. And I said, don't you ever, ever, ever do that to me again. The fact that I saved you from indebtedness and a couple of Article 15s, fuck you. Don't you ever do that to me again. You heard me say it to everybody on this line. But certain black folk, I get it. I get it. That whole boy thing. Yeah, that's ugly. It's an ugly part of our history. So I get their reaction to that. But this boy, that wasn't a slip of the tongue. That was an attitude. That was an attitude, in my opinion.
I agree.
But they were all, it's like, oh yeah, Joe Biden. Yeah, fuck yeah. I don't know who was clapping. There's been a almost an inertial shift that I've seen in every poll away from Joe Biden towards the Republican Party in minority votes. And when I say minority, I guess I'm people of color or whatever term you're supposed to use. But there's been a shift away. I think one day they'll realize that you've been used by the Democratic Party, and they're the most racist motherfuckers on planet Earth saying, "Oh, hey, they can't even go get an ID to vote." I mean, what's more racist than that?
Yeah.
And what he said, calling L. Oh, I almost fucked up myself. LL Cool J, a boy.
Yeah. Well, the biggest movement I've seen in the polling has come from the Hispanic community. But here's the real question I have on these minorities: how real is it? You won't know that until the election. We had heard about how Trump was making all these inroads in the black community, and he only got. I think Biden got like 92% of the black vote.
Yeah, he did.
So how real is it? It's gonna take them. It's gonna take these communities realizing that they've been used. But you got to look at it. The African American community, for example, used to vote straight Republican because, I mean, it was the Democrats that ran the Confederacy, and it was 1932 the shift towards FDR, and they knew that there was still a lot of racist Democrats, but they were willing to make that devil's bargain because of what FDR was promising, and that started a lot of the shift of the black vote from the Republican Party to the Democratic Party. So there is precedence in history for it to happen, but it's going to take a major event. It's going to take a major awakening. If it's an awakening, it's going to happen slowly. The Great Depression was a fairly quick event. I don't want us to get to that, but it could get to something like that. That is what causes a shift.
You know what surprises me, as long as we're talking about this, is the fact that in every blue city, the black on black crime is exponential. I don't know why, and I have a lot of black friends. I know that's a scary thing to say when you're a white guy, but I do. And Larry Elder always says it's not a gun problem, it's a father problem. And that's a cultural problem. And I don't know how we can't address. Let me be blunt. We can't address this as white guys. We can't address that. We can't fix that as white guys. I don't know how to fix that. I would love to fix that in some ways. I would, and it breaks my fucking heart. It does. I mean, all of it breaks my heart, and I don't know how to fix that.
It's a whole cultural conversation unto itself.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, reaction to criticism of the family, for lack of a better phrase. But I mean, I've even seen, again, showing, and I know he's a white guy, but Bill Maher's been calling it out recently.
He has.
You get folks like Larry Elder calling it out.
Yeah.
So it's aware about how you fix it culturally, and it's not just in minority communities. It applies to certain levels of poverty, certain levels of fatherlessness across all demographics.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I don't know how it's addressed, because you got some folks who don't want to address it. Then you have some other folks who are scared to,
right?
Because they don't want to be called names. So but for Biden to come in there and use what we all know is a historically racially tinged, expression, and then when folks just kind of clap along with it, I mean, imagine the uproar if Trump had said that. It would have been national news for 3 weeks.
Just to give people perspective, I remember in 1992, you're a bit younger than me. I was in graduate school at the University of Washington, but Ross Perot was speaking to a group of black students, and he said, "You people."
Yep, I remember that.
And he meant nothing by it. He was literally saying, "You people should," and somebody stood up and go, "What do you mean by you people?" And that destroyed his campaign on the spot, because he was labeled a racist. I remember riding the fucking public transit in Seattle to class. It was like, Ross Perot is a racist because he said "you people." I'm like, he's from what the fuck is wrong with you, guy? Yeah. You people. And it wasn't a minority saying this. This is Seattle liberal, bun wearing, patchouli smearing fucking douchebags talking about this, the progenitors to what we have now that are running the country.
Yeah.
And if I'd have realized then that, I would have had a suicide vest on that bus. But that's the most controversial thing I may have ever said on the podcast. Yeah, but probably. No, I mean, and I remember hearing that from a guy, and I'm like, you're fucking out of your mind. He was just using an expression. He was pointing at a group of students saying, "You people." Oh no, he's pointing at black people. He's a racist. I'm like, all right, I'm not going to win this argument. You fucking.
It's funny that they became a joke.
Smelling fuck. He looked like John Corbett, the celebrity I was talking about earlier.
Yeah,
that it's in My Fat Greek Wedding, and that guy. And it's just like, no, and that's where that shit started, was in the Clinton administration, where it's like, oh, okay, you can't say a fucking thing. That's where political correctness started. Was in the Clinton.
I remember a lot of stuff in the 80s when it first started. So I remember my third grade teacher bringing it up.
Under Reagan, I don't remember political correctness under Reagan.
It was a reaction to Reagan.
Well, hey, and I wanted to make a point before we get off, because I have one more video to show. Do you remember, and I meant to make this point when we were talking about the Republican debate, do you remember Reagan in those debates? Have you watched? Oh my God, how off the cuff and elegant and amazing he was. Do you remember when he talked about his age?
Talk about in the Mondale debate?
Yes, and he said
that ended the election right there.
That ended it. And when he said, "I won't hold,"
even Mondale knew it, because you could see him laughing.
Right, I won't hold my opponent's youth and lack of experience against him.
Yep. And
he said it in that beautiful, drawling Reagan way. I'm not even gonna pretend I can do Reagan, but it was like, I won't hold my opponent's youth and lack of experience against him.
Yeah,
and it was
Reagan had a way with that stuff.
Oh, he was the best debater I think I've ever seen. I mean,
go back and watch the 80 debates against Carter. The 80 debate against Carter. He, well, there you go again. Or, I don't know that I ever said that. And then his closing statement about, ask yourself if it's harder to buy groceries for your family. Ask yourself if it's harder to put gas in your car. If it is, if it's not, vote for my opponent. If it is, you may want to give, me a look or something like that. It was,
as much
I
as
don't know that there has been a debater since. There have been folks who have wanted to. There was that line from Lloyd Benson against Dan Quayle in '88. That
yeah.
That kind
I remember that line well.
Played on that, but that was the last really drop the mic debate. Well, in fairness, Trump had a great line against Hillary Clinton.
Okay.
In fairness, Trump had a great line in 2016 against Hillary Clinton when she was talking about if she was afraid of what would happen if Trump was in office and all this stuff happened, and Trump just said, "Yeah, because you'd be in jail." I mean, that was I'll give it to him there.
That was good. That was amazing.
But
I'm talking about totality of experience and smoothness.
That was an isolated moment.
Ronald Reagan was the best at it. I mean, he never lost a second in any of the debates that he was in. Never lost a second.
Well, he was also quick off the cuff. I mean,
right. That's what I mean. He wasn't practiced. He didn't have lines fed to him by a bunch of goddamn Gen Z fucking idiots.
I don't know if you ever saw the clip of, I don't know if he was speaking to Congress or somebody, but there was a balloon somewhere in the crowd and it popped. And this was after his assassination attempt. And just off the cuff, he goes, "Missed me," and went right back to his speech.
Right. No, that's why he's my hero. You know that he's my hero. I'm going to get it. So here's my thing. I'm tatted up. People don't know that about me, but I'm tatted up because I cover it up because it's nobody's business. But I'm not one of those guys. Hey, look at my sleeves, bro. I'm not that guy. But I'm going to get Mount Rushmore from here to here. But it's going to be my Mount Rushmore. First is Reagan. And it's not even close. It's not even close. I'm trying to decide the other three. I think John Wayne is number 2, probably.
Oh, so this doesn't just have to be presidents.
No. This is my Mount Rushmore. It's going to look like Mount Rushmore, but it's going to be like the faces of the people that I want on my... Look, Mount Rushmore is awesome. I totally agree with those four men. You know me. George Washington, Teddy Roosevelt. Are you kidding me? But no, I'm going to do my personal Mount Rushmore. So Reagan, John Wayne. It might be Clint Eastwood, like the High Plains Drifter looking guy. And I haven't decided on number 4. So those of you
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh no, that's fucking ridiculous. I haven't decided on number 4. I'm weighing some, but I think it's those 3. Those are good choices, right?
Chuck Norris.
It's actually not a bad choice since I met him, and he's actually a great guy. But
you met Chuck Norris?
Oh yeah, no, he actually awarded me a trophy at one of the martial arts tournaments that I.
Oh, that's pretty cool. I did not know that.
Yes, I thought I told you that story, but it was pretty awesome. I got to bow to your sensei, to Chuck Norris, and he awarded me the trophy, and I have a photo of it. I have a big old photo of it in my storage unit of.
But there's no frame around it, right? Because nothing can contain Chuck Norris.
That's right. I would never put a frame around it. No, it was like a Pacific Northwest regional taekwondo. I was in college and I won the tournament, and like I have a picture of Chuck Norris. And no big deal. No big deal. I was in my youth. So I have one last video. Are you ready for the last video? Because we've been on for a bit.
Of course I am.
All right, brother. We've been on for a bit. This is gonna go pretty close to our longest one.
I don't know. We've been up 2.5 hours before.
No, we have not.
Yeah,
have we?
We did 2.5 hours with Chris from Endless Ranters, I think.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's different though. That's a crossover. All right. So I did talk to my friend Derek Johnson at Hardcore Husky, so we might be looking at a crossover soon with those guys. Yeah, it'd be fun. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna cancel this for right now. How about my dogs? How about my Washington Huskies, the most dominant team in the country right now? Have you been paying attention?
I guess they're winning. They're not number 1 in the poll. I think that's Georgia. And then you got Ohio State after them, or Michigan's after them, excuse me.
Washington could literally hang 100 on anybody right now, but they put in all their scrubs in the third quarter. It's fucking check it out, bro. Our quarterback's going to win the Heisman if he keeps on this trajectory. Do you have any idea how excited I am about this? You know what a dog I am. You know what I'm watching.
I know. The biggest joy I take out of college football right now is the fact that Alabama's not in the top 10.
Yeah, that's great. Oh, and I was going to tell you, one of my best friends who I was roommates with, I wouldn't say best friends, that's kind of an exaggeration, but a guy I love very much, Army guy that I was roommates with at First Cav Division, Joe, his daughter just enrolled at Appalachian State.
Awesome.
Yeah, I thought you'd be happy to hear that. And they're very excited about it. And Joe's an amazing guy with a beautiful family, and I'm very happy for them.
I'm concerned Appalachian State is losing its small university feel. When I went to App State, there was like 10,000 or 11,000 students. I think when I looked at it earlier, there was like 21,400 and something.
Did have you guys made a decision on your daughter yet?
We have, but I'm not going to talk about it here on the podcast.
Okay. No, you don't have to. I'm just wondering. If you made a decision.
She has selected her college, and we're excited about that. Now we're trying to get enough scholarship money to take care of the first 2 years.
And I hope you take me up on my laptop recommendation.
We're probably, I mean, we're soliciting like Best Buy gift cards for Christmas and birthday so we can lessen the cost.
Are you kidding? You're rich. You're retired.
No, I am not. Especially not after home issues that I've had recently.
It's all good. All right, let's look at this last video. So this is in regards to Dylan Mulvaney and the whole Bud Light thing, and I wanted to show a commercial. You know, I got thousands of these in my annals of what beer commercials used to look like.
Thousands of these in your what? In your anal?
Yes, yeah. Here we go.
We have assembled here a most congenial group brought together by the love for a truly great beer. Right, group? Right. It's light beer from Miller. Right, group? Right. They think the best thing about it is it's less filling. It has a third less calories than their regular beer. Right, group? Right. Wrong. The best thing about it, it tastes great. No, Horny, it's less filling. Says who? Says me. Hey, take it from me. It tastes great. Who are you?
You won't think this fight is no joke when you come to and your nose is broke.
No wonder you don't get no respect. I tell you, I don't deserve no respect.
You still don't know nothing about beer.
I thought I threw you out of this bar last year. I feel very strongly both ways. I never argue.
Hi, Mickey.
Hi, doll.
What's a nice guy like you doing in a fight like this?
Waiting for you, doll.
No way that gets made today.
Right.
I still don't know why they wanted me to do this commercial.
Light beer from Miller. Everything you always wanted in a beer and less.
Who was the last guy?
That was, I don't know. I don't know who that last guy was, but I can identify just by growing up in that era. Mickey Spillane is the guy that walked off with a chick. Rodney Dangerfield, obviously. Dick Butkus.
Recognize him with the semi pseudo fro.
Right. Bubba Smith, of course, who became he was like in television shows. Deacon Jones. Okay. I recognize him, who famously, and Corolla always plays this video where he's talking about how he got to the quarterback a lot, and he talked about a helmet swat. That was his technique. He'd swat the helmet of the offensive lineman. And Deacon Jones famously said, when you hit a man up alongside the head or a woman, it stuns them for a couple of seconds and you can get to the quarterback. And Billy Martin, obviously, you can tell Billy Martin. So they took they take these sports greats, they put them in this deal, and they're drinking a light beer, which they would have had to drink 40 of those to get drunk. I get it. But that's what light beer commercials used to be like in my childhood.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you remember the one where I want to say it was like a Miller Lite commercial. They were playing baseball and the ball goes over the fence and the team starts celebrating. And then John Madden busts through the fence at the end and says, "No, I caught that ball. This game ain't over yet."
Yes.
But
yes.
As soon as they brought the woman on screen that was all lovey-dovey with Mickey Spillane, that's when I said, yeah, that could never get made today.
No, and it just and he probably took her off and bought her a nice dinner and got her like chiffon and whatever. That's probably not what happened. But
no.
Anyway, when men were men, and we didn't have fucking beer companies having commercials about Dylan Mulvaney.
Yeah, well, they didn't have a commercial. They did give him his own can, and he made his own commercial. And he wasn't like I said, the left has grown used to. That's a nice spot you got going on there.
That's weird.
The left has grown used to the right just kind of taking it. And while the right cannot boycott every product out there that the left is like, ruining or corrupting because it's just too much, you can target specific ones. And Bud grossly misread its audience.
Yeah, they did.
And
hey, Russ, not to interrupt you, but no matter how much I move, I still have this.
Yeah, it looks like you had some makeup put there.
No, I mean, it's weird. Am I that what's the name of that Wanda's love interest who's the android from Avengers?
Vision?
Yeah, my Vision.
I thought you looked more like the Joker from the Batman in 1989 wiping the makeup off his face when he was about to get with Kim Basinger.
Look, it stays with me no matter where I go.
All those out there in podcast land have no idea what we're talking about.
No, I know, but watch the YouTube video. Maybe it's trying to tell everybody how old I am because it shows the wrinkles on my forehead.
I thought the reflection was so big, it was telling everyone how big your forehead was.
No, this is kind of bizarre. Wait a minute. No, see, it stays.
Maybe you can get like a little hat or something to shield it.
That's really weird. All right, we're just gonna roll with it. I'm gonna say it's anointing. Anyway, no, I thought that beer commercial was amazing because that's the way beer commercials used to be. Even the light beer commercials, how different our culture has shifted. That a company would think that a fake chick would sell them beer. What the fuck?
Yep.
Anyway, well, what else you got before we sign off?
I think we've covered most of it. I'm an old man, so I'm going to bed soon.
Yeah, I suppose it's a lot later where you're at than when I'm.
And then now that I thought I forgot about this before, but I'm about just to show my old man age. I'm going in for my shingle shot tomorrow. Now that I've crossed the 50 barrier.
Well, that's fine. That's fine.
I'm doing it because I actually got shingles 2 years ago and it sucked.
I'm still trying to figure out what's going on with my forehead. It's weird.
If you wrinkle your forehead, it goes away a little bit.
For those of you on podcast land only, this is really boring, but there's something really strange.
Coop has a beam of sunlight that is on his forehead and not going away, and it's staying
no,
in that
and
one
it doesn't
spot
matter where
no
I
matter
move.
where he moves.
Watch. That's nuts.
Maybe that's God with a magnifying glass trying to get to that forehead to your brain.
I'm kind of spooked out. I'll be honest with you, my friend. Kind of spooked out. I'm like, all right. Lord, what are you trying to tell me? Because I do talk to the Lord. He doesn't talk back. Don't worry. I'm not insane, but I do talk to him. Well, he talks back in subtle ways,
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway,
you enjoy it. By the way, you would for all those, just to revisit an old topic, when we talk about the controversial arguments and stuff. For those who think that I give up, I'm on Matt Walsh's page, engaged in a 3-month debate with somebody right now, and the topic of religion has come up. So when you mentioned religion, he's one of these guys that has a sitcom level understanding of the Bible. So for those that think I stop, I don't.
Could you send me a link to Matt Walsh's page? Because I didn't know you could engage over there. Because I've emailed him several times about his view on mental health, because I think he's way off the fucking reservation on it, because he has
this is his Facebook page. It isn't his personal page or Daily Wire
that's
page.
fine. That's fine. I just think that I listen to his podcast every day, and I think he's great. But his disdain for mental health really
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, it really pisses me off. So like, dissociative disorder doesn't exist. Fuck off, Matt Walsh. It's one of those
he
things
doesn't
that if you
understand it because he just doesn't understand it.
Well, I'd love to educate him about it. Maybe the two grumpy.
I'm sure he'd be open to that.
Two grumpy. No, he wouldn't be up, because I'd prove him wrong, and he's kind of a cock, and I don't know. I don't think
the cock you listen to.
Because I appreciate. Look, he's way far right from me. Way far right from me, but I appreciate a lot. I think he's very, very. I don't have to agree with everything he says. I think his stance on the LGBTQ and the trans community and the mutilation of children, I think he's right on the money with all that stuff.
Yeah,
completely agree with him that it's a conspiracy, and it's not a conspiracy theory. It's something that's grown into a movement and a cult movement. I totally agree with him on that. Some of his other stuff, and he's like, oh, there's no such thing as mental illness. That's kind of his stance on that. Fuck you, dude.
He's wrong. He's wrong on that.
Yeah, he is. But anyway, so to end it on a positive note, I love puppies.
Okay. To end it on an even more positive note, my children are cuter than about 75 to 80% of all puppies.
I would probably agree with that. I need to get on your Facebook page and look at some photos. Do you have any recent photos of your girls?
No, the most recent one was our trip to Hawaii, just like 2 weeks before the COVID pandemic broke out into the open.
Oh, wow. All right. So
I'll take a lot of photos and post them up there. I have a few.
No, I get that. I get that. As a parent, I don't think I would. The parents that
it's mostly because I'm just lazy.
Well, no, I think the parents that post 1 million photos of their kids are kind of weird. I think it's weird. I do. And I've lost some friends on Facebook because I have that stance, but that's just me. I'd be like, nope, you don't get to look at my kids. I don't know. Anyway. All right, buddy. We're dragging this out. So damn, we went almost 2 hours.
That's because we rock.
Good job. I had way too many videos, I suppose. Should I cut the videos down next time a little bit?
If you want, they were fine to comment on. Let's do bad commercials next time.
Well, we did a good commercial this time. I wanted to change it up.
Yeah, but I like the bad ones. They're really cool.
Yeah, they're great. I got 1 million of them. All right. So, all right, brother. Go ahead and say sayonara to our listeners out there, the ones that are still remaining after you and Alan fucking measuring dicks on.
Sayonara, and everybody, this is why you love me. So just focus in on what I say and remember that I'm always right.
All right, guys. Hey, thanks for listening to all of you. We love you. Go to Patreon, 2grumpybastardsmerchandise.com. we would really
buy our shit.
Appreciate your support, because this we're like, not rich people, and that's okay. The most important thing you can do is like and share on our YouTube channel. That would be amazing. We'd appreciate that. We got a lot of YouTube views lately, which we appreciate. So anyway, I hate to do that at the end because I sound like every goddamn money grubbing content provider.
Grubbing money is okay,
but help us get through this. And I know a lot of you love this content. Some of you don't love it, but go fuck yourself. So, all right. With that being said, Russ is going to finish us off. So I'm going to say, keep your focus and
stay wokeless.